Good morning, good morning, good morning, guys and girls. How are you all doing this morning? This is Reganelite here. Hello, everyone. It is the 12th of June 2025. We're almost there to the weekend, guys. It is a Thursday. It is 8 a.m. in the morning. How are you guys doing? Hope you guys are all doing well. Stephen Banker, nice and early. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. And Billy Kershaw there on behalf of all the Badgers. Or how the Badgers indeed. Billy, good to see you there. I hope you are doing well. Anybody else who's lurking in the chats as well. We are live on YouTube and twitch.tv just for reference as well. So feel free to say hello on either one of the chats, guys. It is good to see you all. We'll be covering mainly world news today, but I may indulge into a bit of UK news depending on how long we do here today. Before we look at, we're going to be looking at a town in particular on the south coast of England that I went to. Unfortunately, I don't have the photos and videos up. I had an issue with my with putting it up on the web page for some reason. So unfortunately, I can't show you photos and photos of it, but I can show you from the internet. We'll talk a little bit about the town. I'm going to talk about my experience. I went there as well, which I'm very interested, very excited to talk about with you guys. But first, we must talk about the local weather, and let me know what the weather is like where you are, guys. Generally curious to know how the weather is going to be like where you are. So, at the moment, right now here in London, it is 17 degrees. It is cloudy. And it's expected to be cloudy throughout pretty much most of the day. Most of the day, I say. And then from 3 o'clock onwards, it's supposed to be beaming sunshine pretty much throughout the rest of the late afternoon into the evening. Temperatures are expected to reach as high as 25 degrees. So it's going to be very warm today. No sign of any showers or any rain whatsoever. But it is going to be hot. Is basically what I'm basically saying here. So here, I don't know if that's going to be like where you are, where you guys are. Let me know. Let me know down in the comments below. But yeah, 25 degrees. It's going to be warm. So you probably want to put your shorts on, and maybe you might need a dab or a bit of sun cream if you do plan on sunbathing somewhere out there today, guys. So yes, 25 degrees is as warm as it's going to be. I mean, it's 17 now, and it's literally 8 o'clock in the morning. I mean, that tells you just how warm it's going to be. And tomorrow is going to be an interesting day as well. So tomorrow is expected to forecast 27 degrees. Now, there was a possibility of rain dropping today around where I was, and it doesn't appear to be the case now. But the weather, because the weather app updates daily. But it does say that there is a 55% chance that there may be showers tomorrow. And that's despite the fact that the temperatures will rise as high as 27 degrees here where I am, which is very interesting indeed. So 27, that's going to be very, very, going to be getting even a bit more warmer here on that. So warm and sunny in Glasgow, says Stephen Banker. Very nice. It's good to get the sunshine out. I just don't like it when it's too hot. I always want to try and keep it in the middle. I always prefer the cold to the warm because I feel like the heat can be sometimes really unbearable for me. But yeah, there's going to be quite a bit. It's going to definitely feel the humidity today. But it does say sunny conditions expected around 3 o'clock. Wind gusts are up to 19 miles per hour is what it says there, just for reference there. So that is what the weather app is saying this morning. Today's daily quota is by Dr. Robert Schneisker. I don't know if I said his name right, but there you go, guys. That is the daily quota for today to show that I don't make these up. So today's one here is tough times never last, but tough people do. Tough times never last, but tough people do. That's today's one by Robert. I can't say his name properly. Schuller. So that I spelt his name, but I can't pronounce it properly. I don't want to be rude this morning. But tomorrow's one from Harold Kushner is a very interesting quotation. Actually, it's quite a long one. Actually, it's well, you have to wait till tomorrow. Sorry, always do that to you guys, don't I? Always make you guys wait. Sorry. If we want tomorrow's one, you'll have to join me tomorrow morning for tomorrow's one. Or if you don't want to wait, you could always follow me across my social medias. You may have noticed as well that I haven't posted it. Some of you who follow me on other social medias may have noticed that I haven't posted anything on social media. Why not? Because I haven't watched the wrestling yet. That's why. So I basically stay off social media until I've watched it. And normally it's the first thing I do on the Thursday morning, but there's a reason for that. But it's not really something you guys are interested in. Anyway, what you are interested in is a bit more history of places that I've been to. Dry but hasty in County Durham, forecast warm, says Billy. Bit hazy. Interesting. Thank you for that, Billy. Thanks for sharing. I really appreciate that. So let's have a look at somewhere that I've been, and I'm very curious to talk about. And I don't know how many of you guys have been to the town, but I'm generally curious to hear what you guys have to say about it. So this is a Seafort, which is in East Sussex. Myself and my partner went here. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, and we had to get two separate trains to get there. So we had to get a train. I don't know if it was from Brighton or somewhere along the way, because of where we lived, to down south, and get off and get a train to it. And I remember the first time we went to the time we went there, I remember getting on this train, and there was all these people with lots of hiking gear, lots of backpacks and whatnot. And I was like, where are they all going? What's going on? And obviously, me not paying attention and doing my research on Seafort, there is this beautiful, amazing cliff walks that they have across along Seafort, which is absolutely stunning. So what a lot of people tend to do is they start their journey from Seafort and they walk all the way along the cliff edge there, and it's absolutely stunning. At some point, myself and my partner, we're going to go to Seafort, and we're going to do the long walk. We didn't do the long walk when we went there the first time because it wasn't initially in our plans. We wanted to spend some time around the town, and we did do a bit of trekking, which I'll show how far we went on there, because from the pictures. But it is there anything too special about Seafort? Not really. There's nothing really too special about it. I mean, it's got a very, very nice beach, is what I would say. Sandy beaches is always a positive as well. And it's very cool that they have like the cliff edges as well. I think it's pretty fancy as well. But apart from that, there wasn't really too much appealing about the town. But let's see what the wiki has to say about Seafort, which is in East Sussex. So it is England, east of New Haven and west of Eastbourne. In the Middle Ages, Seafort was one of the main ports serving southern England, but the town's fortunes declined due to coastal sedimentation, silting up its harbour, and persistent raids by French pirates. The Coastal Confederation of Clinic Ports in the medieval period consists of 42 towns and villages, and Seafort was included under the limb of Hastings between the 1350 and the 1550. The French burned down the town several times in the 16th century, and the people of Seaford were known as the Commodores or Shags because of their enthusiasm for looting ships wrecked in the bay. Local legend has it that Seaford residents would on occasion cause ships to run aground by placing fake harbour lights on the cliffs. Seaford's fortunes revived in the 19th century with the arrival of the railway connecting the town to Lewes and London. That's right, yeah, the connection was at Lewes. Yeah, that's where we switched train. That's actually where we switched it, if I recall there. Yeah, Lewes. It became a small seaside resort town, and more recently a dormant town for the nearby larger settlements of Eastbourne and Brighton. Yes, that now just triggers my memory. So yeah, I think people can walk. It's long treks, but yeah, they can make those trips to Eastbourne or Brighton there along the cliff edges. By no means is not an easy trek. The traditional Sussex pronunciation of the name has a full vowel in each syllable, Seafort. However, outside Sussex and increasingly within, it is commonly pronounced with a reduced vowel on the second syllable, Seafort. So the town lies on the coast near Seaford Head, roughly equivalence between the mouths of the River Once and the Cluckmere. The Ouse Valley is a wide tidal estuary with its mouth nearly closed and by a shingle bar. But the tidal mudflats and salt marshes have been protected by the tidal wave river by dikes to form grassy freshwater marshes as grazing march. To the north town it faces a chalk downtown of the South Downs. Now along the coast to the east are the Seven Sisters chalk cliffs. When I think of Seven Sisters, I think of the train station, the tube station in London, but it's a different Seven Sisters. And yeah, this here you can see there, just that picture there of the Seven Sisters there. The Seven Sisters are a chalk of sea cliffs on the English Channel coast and are a stretch of the sea eroded section of the South Downs range of the hill. And in the county of East Sussex in southeast England, the Seven Sisters cliffs run between the mouth of the River Cluckmere and the Seaford. Those two houses there, they're literally, right there. It's a bit of a trek from there to the town of Seaford. You still got to walk a fair bit there. So it is a bit of isolationist from there, because from that picture of where you can see those two houses, and that's when, and then after that it's like a long stretch walk there. It's also important to point out as well, it mentions the River Ouse. The River Ouse is actually right smack in the middle of, you see where those two houses are in that picture there. The River Ouse actually smacks right in the middle between, and it's a long length. You can't actually cross that river. The only way you can cross it is you have to go into the National Trust area. You have to walk at least a good 15-20 minutes up the river before you can cross over. There's no way you can connect over from here, from this point here at the beachhead. You can't just walk over and just walk up to the cliffs. No. There's a big long river in front of you, and there's no way to cross that. They haven't put no bridge, no nothing, nana whatsoever. Which is kind of annoying, because I would have liked to have walked to the other side at least of the beach, but I couldn't do that. The stretched coast is identified for its geological and ecological features, as Seafort to the beachy site, head site, and special scientific interests. The River Ouse used to run parallel to the shore behind the Shringle Bar, entering the sea close to Seaford. However, a major storm in the 16th century broke through the bar and the western end, creating a new river mouth and close to the village called Michigarin, which was later renamed to New Haven. Part of the former channel of the river remains as a brackish lagoon. So, there's a bit of history there. In 1920 to 1924, the bailiff of Seafort was William Levick and Angelo Norman. Family long seated in Sussex, William Levitt of Seafort owned the Brunch and Stonehouse Manors in Warbleton, probably inheriting them from his father John Levitt, who died in 1607. Levitt sold the estate in 1628 and died in 1635. He will be filed in Hastings. The old town hall in South Street and the meeting place in the Borough Council, which had powers to elect 2 members of Parliament until the implementation of the Reformed Act of 1832. The Levitt family's intermarriage with other Sussex families, including the Garrilics, the Everetts, the Popes, the Ashburnhams, the Anarans, and the Charlatans, a seal in his arm belonging to John Daval, Lord of Fry, which was found at Eastbourne in 1851. So, very interesting stuff indeed. Seafort Records, interesting. It is. It's I'll just show you some pictures. It's a really nice, like, this is a great shot of the town here. Let me see if I can get I don't know. Let me see if I can get a bigger screenshot for you guys of Seafort here. 1 second. I need to adjust my camera here on OBS. This is a great shot from on the cliff sides there of Seafort there. So this is essentially what it is. You can see there from the cliff side there. As you guys have said, the beach it's a nice beach. On a nice day, this is actually a really nice place to go to. But there's not really a lot in town specifically to do. It's really, apart from the cliff walks and the beach, there's no other reason to go to Seafort that I can think of. I mean, there might be 1 or 2 museums from my history, but that's about it. It's not really like somewhere. It's not like Brighton. It's not like Hastings. It's not like Margate on the south of England. It's not like one of those. It's a small. It's seen as a small, quirky town. You know, if you're somebody who just wants to go to the beach, this is definitely somewhere you could possibly go. But like I said, yeah, in terms of the trains, if you're not driving there, it can still be a pain in the neck to get to. If you're going by train like I do, because I don't drive, it can still be a pain in the neck to get to. Another screenshot there of it there. Here is the other screenshot, obviously, of the cliffs there if you walk along. This is a good shot here, so from this angle here. So this is out from the ocean point of view here of the seafront there, and then you can see on the right there of the picture there, you can see the cliff edges of where you go up and walk there. Another flat shot there you can see of Seafort there. This shot here, this is the River Oise that we just mentioned there as well. I don't know why the sea looks so beautiful there, because it wasn't that beautiful when we went. I think it was mainly cloudy on the day me and my partner went, but still, But yeah, you can, again, I don't know if you can see in that picture there, but just on the left hand side you can see the water going into the the water into the river, or the river coming out from there as well, because like I said, you cannot just simply walk across because of the river there. You simply cannot. It's not as simple as that. This is a shot where you can just walk down onto one aspect or area. That is just a picture of the high street. There is another great shot of it there. I'm just seeing if there's a shot of the actual river. Let me just give me 1 second. Let me see if I can find a shot of the. I want to see if I can find good for you guys before we go to the. Before we go into, where is it? River eyes. I'm trying to find the shot of the. I'm just going to see. I'm trying to find the shot of the river. Where is the shot of the beach splitting? I'm just trying to find a picture of the shot with the beach of where it splits open, but I can't seem to find it. Oh, I haven't showed you guys that one. So this is obviously, this is when you walk up. They've got this little this stony wall here. I'm not sure. I think that this is possibly was used. This wall was probably used back in the in the olden days, obviously to protect themselves from the French raids that we read about there. But you can see there the cliff edge obviously just walks right up there. I'm just seeing if there is a shot of Seaford Pier and Pier. Not really much of a pier, as you guys can see there. And there's another shot of Seaford there. I'm just seeing if there was the river. I can't seem to get a photo of it, unfortunately, which is a shame. And this is on the other side of the cliff edge there. But it is a nice little quirky town. Nothing too fancy about Seaford in any way, shape or form, guys. But if you're definitely somebody who likes going to a sandy beach, if you like just going somewhere where I don't consider Seaford to be somewhere where people will intentionally go to anyway. It's not really one that most people will go to unless you obviously live locally. Then obviously it's a different matter. But I think it's a fascinating one, to say the least, guys. But yeah, have a look at it for yourself and let me know what you guys think. But me and my partner, we had a good time when we went there. We went for a day trip, yeah, we walked about all the way up to the river, and we walked back. We couldn't walk any further because, like, you know, we have train tickets to get back as well. And we took our time. It was a nice walk. So Seaford is pretty interesting, but not as interesting, I would say, as other seaside towns on the south of England. That is for sure, guys. So let's have a look at some of the stories and news that have been taking place today, this morning, that have been coming up this morning. Obviously, this has been reported, and it's very obviously we didn't catch this on the Snowflake Watch yesterday, but it certainly is raising eyebrows, that's for sure, on the world news, guys. And that is that the United States evacuates personnel from the Middle East in a sign of growing regional tension. So the US broadcaster CBS have reports that the White House decision to move the embassy staff and dependents partly due to Israel's preparations for an attack in Iran. So I'm seeing this across multiple media outlets. This is not just Al Jazeera, this is multiple media outlets, that Israel are preparing for an attack on Iran. Now, I don't know what's this based on. Are they just doing this because they can? I don't know how this is. I don't know why they're preparing an attack. I don't know. Has Iran done an attack that I'm not aware of recently? So it looks like within the next, I don't know, since last night, Israel have been preparing for an attack on Iran, and we don't really know too much about this, if I'm honest. So this is obviously news that's probably been happening overnight, guys. So let's have a read. So the US is preparing a partial evacuation of its embassies in Iraq and has authorized the voluntary departure of dependents from US personnel from locations across the Middle East, including Bahrain, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates, as regional security concerns are raised. So the US Central Command, CENTCOM, said in a statement on Wednesday that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has authorized the departure of military dependents in the region, and that CENTCOM was monitoring the developing tension. Orders for all non-essential personnel to depart the US Embassy in Baghdad, which was already on limited staff and was based on a commitment to keeping Americans safe both at home and abroad, the Department of State has said. Speaking on Wednesday evening, US President Donald Trump said the order to move staff out had been given because the region could be a dangerous place. Well, couldn't they all be a dangerous place there? Alex Adams, good morning. Hope you are doing well. And good morning, Madbank33 as well. Hope you guys are both doing well there. So, could be a dangerous place. Well, it technically is a dangerous place, but like, what is triggered this? This is my curiosity. We'll see what happens. We're given a notice to move out, and we'll see what happens. Trump says. Trump then added in reference to Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. We're not going to allow that. Again, like, here's the thing. Like, I don't trust Iran as much as you guys do, but what evidence do you have that they have nuclear weapons? What evidence do you have on that? Unfortunately, uncertainty has been growing in recent days as talks between the US and Iran over its nuclear program appear to have hit an impasse. The US news broadcaster CBS reported late on Wednesday that US officials have been informed that Israel is fully ready to launch an attack on Iran and that Washington anticipates that Tehran could retaliate by targeting certain American sites in neighboring Iraq. Al Jazeera's Alan Fisher, reporting from Washington, D.C., said there have been clear signs in recent days of high-level discussions between senior military officials and the Trump administration amid concerns about the ongoing talks with Iran over its nuclear program. Donald Trump has in the last couple of days expressed his concerns that a deal might not be able to get done, Fisher has said. Therefore, we are seeing effectively the partial evacuation of an embassy in Baghdad, with non-military personnel and non-essential staff being moved out, and the volume evacuation of other embassies in the region, he said. They've done this sort of thing before, Fisher said, noting that Baghdad embassy was particularly evacuated previously over concerns that the embassy could become a target for Iranian-aligned militias in Iraq. Clearly, there is some concern that the discussions with the Iranians aren't going well, or there could be this is all designed to put pressure on Iranians because you will resume that Donald Trump said that he couldn't get some sort of deal, and then it could be some sort of military action against the Iranians. I hope that they don't do something stupid, but then again, this is America we're talking about, and Israel. As reports of U.S. embassy staff dependents depart the Middle East region emerge, Iran's mission to the United Nations posted on social media that Iran is not seeking a nuclear weapon and U.S. militarization only fuels instability. This is true. Threats of overwhelming force won't change the facts, the Iranian mission has said. Diplomacy, not militarization, is the only path forward, it added. I just, like, for me, unless there has been why would Israel prepare for an attack? Like, is the thing. I know that there's history. I know there's tension. I know they're not on good terms. We know that. We know that based on the history. But it's like, to me, it's like, what exactly are you achieving here? And the other thing is as well, unless they know for a fact that they have nuclear weapons, which they don't. My concern is obviously, imagine if this president comes out and says we have gathered intelligence that claims that they have weapons of mass destruction. We need to go in there and take them out, Iran. Imagine if they actually said that. Can you imagine the difficulty of all the members of NATO being told, hey, you need to go and we need you guys to help us take out Iran for weapons of mass destruction? That would be very awkward, wouldn't it? Another thing that looks like is going to be changing as well, so is our relationship with the Trump administration, or the pact that Joe Biden has set up for us, looks like might be getting thrown in the bin. So the Trump administration is renewing the Biden-era submarine pact with Australia, UK. That's AUKUS, for those who don't know. So the US President Donald Trump's administration has launched a formal review of the former President Joe Biden's AUKUS defensive pact with Austria and Britain to allow Austria to acquire nuclear power submarines, a defense official said. Austria sees the submarines as critical to its own defense as tensions grow over China's expansive military build-up, says it remains committed to the project and look forward to working closely with the US on the review. So as well as causing alarm in Australia, the review also throw a wrench in Britain's defensive plans. AUKUS, worth hundreds of billions of dollars, is at the centre of a planned expansion of Britain's submarine fleet. Yeah. Yeah, because obviously, literally yesterday in the spending review, talking about submarines here. Not as simple as that now. We are reviewing AUKUS as part of ensuring that this initiative for the previous administration is aligned with the President's America First agenda, US officials said on the review, first reported by the Financial Times. Any change to the administration's approach for AUKUS will be communicated through official channels when appropriate. AUKUS was formed in 2021 to address worries about China's growing power. It envisions Australia to acquire up to 5 US Virgin-class submarines from 2032. Then Britain and Australia would design and build a new class of submarines with US assistance. UK would take first delivery in late 2030 with delivery to Australia in the early 2040s. Before that, the US and Britain would start forward rotations of their submarines in 2027 and out of Australia's naval base in Western Australia. Vocal skeptics among Trump's senior policies officials, including Egbert Colby, the Pentagon's top policy advisor, who cautioned last year that submarines were a scarce critical commodity and US industry could not produce enough to meet America's demands. Submarines would be central to US military strategy. Any confrontation with China centered in the first islands chains, running from Japan through Taiwan, the Philippines, and on to Borneo, in closing China's coastal seas. My concern is, why are we giving away this crown jewel asset when we need it the most, Colby said last year. Only 6 countries operate nuclear power submarines: the US, the UK, China, France, and India. Spokesperson for Australia's Defence Minister Richard Marine said the US had informed Australia and the UK of the review. AUKUS will grow both US and Australian defence industries as well as generate thousands of new manufacturing jobs, the spokesperson said. The British government spokesperson called AUKUS one of the most strategic important partnerships in a decade that also produce jobs and economic growth in communities across all 3 nations. I honestly think that the thing that comes to my mind when I think about this so-called review, because it was done by Joe Biden's administration, that's why they're reviewing it. I don't know if they're going to scrap it, and I think if they did, it would be really, really bad. Not just on America's image, but also the pact that was agreed before this as well. I really hope not. It just seems a little folly to me, and a part of me feels like Trump is being a little bit petty over it because he wants to on it because it was something by the Biden administration. Next one I've got for you guys before we go to the rest of the news. We'll go look at this last one, then we'll come to the rest of the news. Court hearing set on Trump's use of National Guard and Marines to help with immigration raids in LA. So the court is about to hear the case here for why the National Guard and Marines to help with immigration raids in LA. So the federal court hearing is scheduled for today on whether the Trump administration can use National Guard and Marines to assist with immigration raids in Los Angeles. I believe it legally can, but and we know what act that they use for the National Guard, but at the moment we still don't know what act was used by the Marines. California Governor Newsom has deprived the federal military of its intervention in the nation's second largest city as the onset of a much broader efforts by Trump to overturn political and cultural norms at the heart of the nation's democracy. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass has echoed that, saying that the deployment of troops was unnecessary and meant to just undermine local jurisdiction and intimidate the city's large immigration population. Newsom filed an emergency motion requesting the court's intervention after President Donald Trump ordered the deployment of roughly 4,000 National Guard members and 700 Marines to Los Angeles following protests over his stepped-up enforcement of immigration laws. The Trump administration has called the lawsuit a crass political stunt, enshrining American lives in its official response on Wednesday. The Democratic government argues the troops were originally deployed to protect federal buildings, and sending troops to help support immigration raids would only promote civil unrest. Protests over immigration raids in Los Angeles intensified after Trump called up the National Guard and has spread to other cities, including Boston, Chicago, and Seattle. I have not seen, while of course there have been protests in other cities, I've not seen them go violent in those cities as of right now. I've not seen them go violent as far as I'm aware, but that doesn't mean that it could possibly change as well. Good morning, Mithril. Hope you are doing well. Good to see you there, and anybody else lurking in the chats. This is the tracker that the Associated Press has. They always keep track of his executive actions, of what Donald Trump has done, and partial or fully blocked courts left in efforts or pending with regards to some of the things that he's doing that. I'm not going to go through all of them just because of time. Federal immigration agents have been arresting people at Home Depot's parking lot and other businesses, sparking fears of immigrant communities. After the Trump administration said it wanted to dramatically increase arrests under its immigration crackdown. Trump has described Los Angeles in dire terms that Brass and Newsom say are nowhere close to the truth. Most demonstrations have been peaceful, but this weekend has turned raucous with protesters setting cars on fire in downtown Los Angeles. The city has imposed a nightly curfew that covers 1 square mile, as 2.5 square kilometers section where protests have occurred in sprawling metropolises of 4 million people. And this Saturday, obviously, is not only Donald Trump's birthday, but when where he's executing a military parade in Washington as well. There are going to be protests, massive protests on Saturday, which was mentioned on the live stream last night as well. Marines have not been spotted in Los Angeles, and Guard troops have limited engagement with protesters. Newsom filed the motion Tuesday, the same day the military announced that some members of the National Guard were now standing in protection around federal agents. The change moved troops closer to engaging in law enforcement action like deportations, as Trump has promised as part of his administration's immigration crackdown. The Guard has the authority to temporarily detain people who attack officers, but any unrest ultimately will be made by law enforcement. The U.S. senior U.S. District Judge Charles R. Benya chose not to rule immediately, but set the hearing for Thursday today in the federal court in San Francisco. Dozens of mayors from across Los Angeles banded together on Wednesday to demand the raids stop and the troops leave, and they should leave. It's ridiculous, but we know that this is exactly what Donald Trump wants. Donald Trump wants violence. He wants chaos. This is what he wants, guys. He wants to exercise this to us here. Stephen Banker says, so where is the proof that this is bad in LA? There obviously are a minority of people who are trying to cause violence, but the majority have been peaceful. I mean, you saw the video I covered yesterday on last night's live stream. It's just been mainly peaceful. What's up? Had a V777 on Twitch. Good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. And everybody else on YouTube. Right. But yeah, again, we're going to talk about this tonight anyway on the American live stream anyway, guys. So we will continue to cover it as much as extensively can. So let's see what some of the news has been going on today. I've got quite a few different ones lined up for you guys here. So we start with Al Jazeera's front page here. The US evacuates personnel from the Middle East in the sign of growing regional tensions. We just looked at that already. Israeli soldiers kill 13 and wound another 200 in Gaza in the latest aid seeker attack. This is daily stuff. You see this daily, these kind of attacks, and no repercussions whatsoever. No repercussions whatsoever for Israel on this. Absolutely disgusting. A must read of how the Los Angeles protests unfolded, a visual guide. What's behind Russia's evolving drone warfare in Ukraine? Unarmed Palestinian brothers killed in Israeli raid on the West Bank Nablus. Mifrol says Argentina to move embassy to Tel Aviv to Jerusalem in 2026. How's your country doing, by the way? Oh, that's right. Not very well. A few self-driving taxis and a shoe shop. Boo-hoo, says Mifrol. Yeah, I don't know if Trump's a fan of self-driving cars. Trump launches website for $5 million gold card granting U.S. residency. That's right, guys. You can bribe your way to U.S. citizenship for $5 million. Crazy. Japan protests to China after dangerous move moves by warplane over the Pacific. You would think that China are really just brushing off there. They've got one of the most powerful navies now, almost on the same level as America, if not more. Now, and they can really showboat it. Japan doesn't have anywhere near the same as China, unfortunately. Iran threatens to strike U.S. bases if conflict erupts over nuclear program. U.S.-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation said 5 aid workers killed in attack. Northern Ireland hit by a third night of racist violence. Main flashpoint karma. Something needs to be done about that. It's time running out for Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu. Yes, we just don't know when that clock is going to run out for him. 1 in 67 people worldwide remains forcibly displaced, according to UNHCR report. How is Pakistan raising money for 20% hike in the defense spending? It's Pakistan. I'm sure they can find money somewhere. We know how corrupt they. We know they got corruption. They're not. They're not exactly. They're not exactly a democracy, are they? Trump tariffs loom. Southeast Asia's solar industry faces devastation. Money not infertility. UN report says why our birth rates are plummeting. Woman who inspires Gaza flotilla says message of humanity reaches the world. Israeli bombing Gaza worse than ever. UK docked after the latest mission. Los Angeles immigration protest clashes. What's the latest and what's next? Football and then opinion pieces there. So this is the front. That's the front of Al Jazeera. Good morning, DJ Mardimu. Good to see you there. Hope you are doing well. And anybody else lurking in the chats. Let's have a look at what CNN is saying. I'm going to start from the world feed and then we'll come to the main page on in just a second. So it still has. They've left that on for weeks, by the way. That picture gallery there, the world reacts to Pope Francis's death. France says Palestinian authorities make unprecedented commitments to reform ahead of conference on statehood. Argentina's top court draws curtain on Cristina Kirchner's political error. At least 7 dead after wave of explosions hit southwest Colombia, authorities have said. Gaza's humanitarian organization says Hamas attacks have killed multiple aid workers. Israel recovers body of 2 Daesh hostages from Gaza in military operation. Another 2 bodies have been recovered, apparently. Disorder breaks out in Northern Ireland for the 3rd straight night. UN launches a rescue operation after 8 migrants died off the Jaboljan coast. Trump tells Netanyahu to end Gaza war and stop Iran threats, source says, as US ramps up pressure on Israel. So source says Trump's called Netanyahu, apparently, telling him to knock it off. How true that is, we just don't know. You honestly don't know for sure. This is the front of CNN. I'm just pulling it forward to get rid of that giant black space. If I can pull it up a little bit. Protest flare across the US. This is in Las Vegas. San Antonio there, from pictures there. State of emergency declared in Spokane, Washington, as Los Angeles seeks a night of unrest and police clash with protesters in other major cities. Oh dear. Protests against Trump's mass deportations could reshape US politics. Marines will deploy in LA within 48 hours of completing training. US Northern Command has said world's most popular TikTok star Cusby Lamb leaves the US after being detained by ICE. TikTok star got deported. Troops began detaining immigrants in National Defense Zone at border in escalation of military role. Trump's top general just undercut his invasion claims. US withdraws some diplomats and military families from the Middle East amid Iran's attentions. The US economy could deteriorate soon. I thought it was already deteriorating. Musk has called Trump to express regret. For hardship criticism from US president. Yeah, Elon Musk has got remorse for some reason. I don't know why. He regrets the tweets that he put out. But damage is already done. Leaf Skin, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. Amanda Lewis, former MTV Edgy, has died at the age of 52. 25 of the world's best sandwiches. Go on, guys. Tell me what your best sandwiches is in the chat. Those who love your sandwiches, tell me what's your favorite. What's your favorite sandwich? For me, it's just ham and cheese. I like a good old ham and cheese sandwich. That's one of my ones there. To be fair. Crocodiles are disappearing from the Caribbean island, but one man has a plan to save them. Remote Scottish lodge where top Nazi was held goes up for sale. Man convicted of fraud for posing as flight attendants to fly for free. What? Someone pretended to be a flight attendant. Man convicted of fraud posing as flight attendant to fly for free. The man accused of falsely posing as a flight attendant to reap dozens of free flights has been convicted of wire fraud and fraudulently entering the security area of an airport. Trident Alexander was found guilty after a federal judge after taking 34 free flights that he obtained by pretending to be a flight attendant or a pilot, the U.S. District Attorney in Southern Florida said in a news release on Tuesday. He was also convicted of entering the security area of Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport under false premises, authorities said. The man was employed by an unidentified airline base in Dallas beginning in 2015, court document says, but not as a pilot or flight attendant. The scheme to obtain free tickets for a Florida-based airline began in 2018 and continued to 2024, according to court documents. Alexander was indicted on 3 charges in Florida. He was arrested in California in February. Tickets Alexander secured are reserved for flight attendants and pilots. Free flights are among the top perks working as a pilot or flight attendant. The benefits is based on seniority and tenure. Using the airline's online ticket system, Alexander claimed to have worked intermittently for 7 different carriers, according to the prosecutor's news release. He was convicted of 4 counts of wire fraud and one count of falsely entering the airport security area. He was represented by attorneys in public defender office in Miami. CNN has reached out for them for comment. How does people get around these things, man? Crazy how people find ways around these things. It's crazy. But he got caught in the end, guys. He got caught in the end. It's just the front page of the Associated Press. Court hearing set on Trump's use of National Guard and Marines to help with immigration raids in LA. As part of that, Trump and Newsom escalate fight as feds intervene in LA protests, in their own words. Want to know about No Kings protest on Trump's policy on Sunday? Yeah, the protest that's been organised around America is called No Kings protest, is what they're calling it. The No Kings protest. Because Trump wants to be a king, as we guys know. US governors are divided along party lines about military troops deployed to protest. An Omaha food plant owner says that he follows the rules for hiring immigration. It was raided anyway. Trump booed and cheered at Kennedy Center while attending Les Miserables. Why did he go and attend that? That's just absolutely crazy for me. Good morning, Matt Parker. Thank you so much for being a member for 11 months. Much appreciated. Thank you so much for your membership. Much appreciated. Hope you are doing well and anybody else lurking in the chats there. Just a reminder, guys, Graham Hughes will have his morning brew at 9 o'clock and Dave McGuinness will have the paper review from Scotland's perspective on the spending review. They'll obviously be talking about that later on today at 4 o'clock, the two Davies. But they'll have his paper review at 10:30 on youtube.com/the two Davies. So if you guys do check out both YouTube channels, would be greatly appreciated there. And also, if you haven't already, do check out Max Robespierre's interview with Zach Polanski as well. I watched it last night. It's very, very good. I thought he handled it really, really well. Definitely do check it out as well. There. With Trump as ally, El Salvador president ramps up crackdown on dissent. Female athletes appeal landmark NCAA settlement saying it violates federal anti-discrimination law. Mandatory military service for Israel's ultra-Orthodox test Netanyahu's rule. US reduces the presence of staff as not deemed essential in Middle East as tensions rise. UN set to vote on resolution demanding Israel ceasefire, hostage release and aid access. Convoy arrives in Libya en route to Gaza to challenge Israel's blockade on humanitarian aid. The UN vote is meaningless. It's not going to stop anything. Like the US are just going to veto block it. It's I know they can keep bringing it up as much as they want. UN is powerless. As for the convoy of aid trying to get into Israel's blockade, good luck with that. Israel are not going to let it happen. You know, you can just kick and scream and shout out as much as you want. They're not going to allow it in. That's just a sad reality here. Let's see on the right-hand side here. 45 minutes to pack up for a lifetime as Pakistan's foreign crackdown sends Afghans scrambling. Yeah, a lot of Afghans who fled to Pakistan for safety and salvation. Many of them are finding themselves being kicked out of the country. Yeah, it's a very scary time for some of them. Trump's military parade in US outlines in peacetime, but parades and reviews have a long history. 2 Chinese aircraft carriers are operating in the Pacific together for the first time. Trump's travel ban fuels despair and disgust with politicians among Arab Americans in Michigan. Yeah, it's pretty terrible indeed, that is for sure. He generally doesn't understand the message in... Yeah, and the thing is, like, here's the thing. Someone played a video. I'm not going to say who it was, because I watched this morning a YouTuber who was showing video footage from it. He wasn't... I haven't seen actual footage of him literally getting booed out the building. There were people who were clapping, but there was some that were booing. So it was kind of mixed. It was kind of mixed from what from the video that I saw. I only saw one video, though. I want to make that very clear. So maybe there are some different angles of it, but... Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing for him. I don't know why he went there. Goes against pretty much everything that he and his administration kind of stand for. But Donald Trump doesn't understand a lot of things as well. Remember, he's just a puppet. He's just a piece there. He's not actually doing anything. He's not actually in control of anything. It's people behind him who are pulling the strings. Let's be clear about that. So this is from NBC News. Some Los Angeles officials fear Marines rule of force. From A Day of Love, if they spit, we will hit. Trump about face on violence against police. The North Korean appears to follow the South in suspending loudspeaker broadcast. Trump's speech prompted new questions concerns about polarization of military. Israel considers military strike on Iran, sources say. Oman's foreign ministry said there will be 6-round negotiations between Iran and the US on Sunday, apparently. Interesting. Let me get rid of that video. Israel considering military strike on Iran. Head of controversial Gaza Humanitarian Foundation refuses to reveal who funds it. 36 Palestinians killed trying to obtain desperately needed aid in Gaza, officials say. Pacer grabs 2-for-1 series lead in NBA final. I think that's football. Colorado funeral home owner who left corpse in Hertz for over a year, sentenced to 18 months. What? Left a corpse in a Hertz for over a year? Attorneys for Kilmore Alberto Garcia argued he isn't a flight risk and should be released. Yep, he absolutely should. He was deported in error to an El Salvador prison after the Trump administration refused a judge order to return him. Then he did so last week after it filed criminal charges. Attorneys for Kilmore Alberto Garcia in the mainland were arrested by the governor and sent to El Salvador prison in error, and then returned to the United States last week, arguing in a court filing Wednesday that he should be freed from jail pending trial. I'm just happy. I'm just happy that he's back in the country more than anything. I really, really am. I really hope it gets squashed very quickly, because the thing is they don't have a leg to stand on, the Trump administration against him. They don't have anything to stand on against him. ICE reject Muhammad Kali's request to be detained closer to a newborn son. Email shows that's an exclusive from them. Government can't hold the Port Columbia activist Muhammad Kali, federal judge rules. The order will take effect on Friday, June the 13th, allowing the administration time to appeal, which they probably will. European probe snaps first images of the sun's south pole. Interesting. Appeals Kala Sola, a Weinstein accuser, appeals his conviction. Although the disgraced former movie Mongol wasn't found guilty of sexually assaulting her, the former model says that the verdict sent a strong message there. Any other stories? There is no plan B. Republicans make a daring bet on debt limit. David Hogg will not run for the DNC post after party orders Redo of vice chair elections. Senator Rand Paul said he was uninvited to White House picnic over breaks with Trump. Yep, that's not a surprise. Sean Combs' lawyers portray hotel nights as consensual encounters. Yeah, he's not in a good place, Mr. Puff Daddy or P. Diddy or whatever, or Sean Combs' name now. Really is not in a very good place, is he? Not in a very good place at all. Let's have a look and see what's going on outside of America, a couple of other places. This is African news, although they don't always show African news, which is a bit of a weird one here. Yeah, thanks for dropping the links, Mad Monk. Much appreciated. Kenyan president condemns death in police custody, orders for swift investigation there. Charcoal steel backlash, UK under fire over 30 billion payout. Elon Musk backs off from his feud with Trump. Here on the right-hand side, they have deadly flood devastates South Africa's Eastern Cape. At least 49 dead, more are missing. That's been reported today. Yesterday, Israel deports Greta Thunberg, other activists from Gaza's aid flotilla. 138 million child workers globally in 2024, number down from 2020 report there. They have a report there on that. Nearly 138 million children were engaged in child labour in 2024, including around 54 million in hazardous work, likely to jeopardise their health, safety or development, according to new estimates released today by the International Labour Organization, the ILO, and the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, UNICEF, on Wednesday. Latest data shows a total reduction of over 20 million children since 2020, reversing an alarming spike between 2016 and 2020. Despite this positive trend, the world has missed its target of eliminating child labour by 2025. Yeah, this was never going to happen. Guys, just a reminder, if you want to support the work that I do here and support Democratic Penguins Republic, you can do by leaving a super chat. It'd be greatly appreciated to support the work that I do as well. It'd be muchly appreciated. The report titled Child Labour, Global Estimates 2024 Trends and the Road Forward, released one day ahead of the World Day Against Child Labour and on the International Day of Play, underscores a stark reality that while gains have been made, millions of children are still being detained at their right to learn, play and simply be children. Before I couldn't read and even write my name, but now I know how to read and write, and I help my father with documents, said Chosco Songro. The 15-year-old boy from Tola Cisco region in Mali was previously engaged in child labour, working in the cotton fields as a bus apprentice, and thanks to LOO's ASIO Africa project, he's now in school and he's learning how to read and write. That's very good. The report highlights the need for integrated policies on education, social protection and decent work for parents in order to truly break the intergenerational cycle of child labour and poverty. But our latest global estimates present a story of progress and hope, but the pace is still too slow, said Federico Blanco, an expert at ILO and co-author of the joint ILO-UNICEF report. Behind every number, let's remind ourselves that there is a child whose right to education, protection and decent future is being denied. The report makes clear that isolated efforts won't work, Blanco had continued. So we are heading in the right direction when it comes to child migration, but it's still too much. Still too much, guys. Several Western governments sanctioned two far-right Israeli ministers. We talked know about that already. Child still, we already talked about that already. Musk and Trump. Pixar animation ELO premieres and immigration unrest in LA. Convoy at least 1,500 activists head to Gaza to challenge Israel's blockade. Record number, nearly 1.3 million Haitians are now internally displaced, guys. Never before has Haiti recorded this many internal displaced persons within its borders, according to a new report released by the International Organization for Migration, the IOM. The root of these dramatic population movements lie in the gang violence, which has held the country in its grip for several years now. But the number of armed attacks, kidnapping, rape cases and sexual violence has made the situation unbearable for large parts of the population. While most armed gangs operate in the capital Port-au-Prince, the violence has been spreading to the countryside and other parts of the country, also increasing refugee numbers there. As more people are forced to flee, the number of spontaneous displacement sites are also rising. Since December, these sites have jumped from 142 to 246. The sharpest increase in an area that previously had none, like the Centre Department, which now hosts 85 sites, notes the IOM. The Central and North Department saw the largest increase in IDPs numbers, and 77% of IDPs continue to be hosted in the province outside the capital. The humanitarian situation has worsened in the face of the crisis, with refugee numbers putting a strain on local infrastructure and resources, with many facing a life without access to school, healthcare and clean water. International efforts to curb the violence has so far not yielded the results that government and Haitians are alike hope for. A Kenyan police mission is currently the main international force to play in the fight to gangs. I should also point out as well that Haitians cannot migrate to the United States of America, not because of the Trump administration, but because they've imposed, a ban on the country. So basically, essentially, you can't go to America. So I don't know where they go when they try to flee. And many of them are getting kicked out of the Dominican Republic as well, which is the other part of the island that the two countries shared as well. And thank you so much for the £2 super chat, Matt Parker. And yes, rest in peace to the late Brian Wilston. Yes, indeed. It's always sad when we see see good people go. And I wish condolences to friends and family of him. Apologies, for some reason I can't click the like button on here. There we go, on there. But yes, may he rest in peace indeed. So we've still got some time. Let me go to the Kiev Independent. What's been happening in Ukraine, guys? So let's have a look. See on the right-hand tab here. Sorry, left-hand side of the tab. German Defense Minister Priskos arrives in Ukraine, discuss military aid. 15 injured in Russian drone attack in Kharkov a day after fatal drone bombardment. Excuse me. This has been updated this morning. A Russian drone attack in Kharkov overnight on June the 12th. Injured 15 people, including at least 4 children, authorities have reported. Zelensky holds first meeting with Romanian new president Dan. President Volodymyr Zelensky hosted a trilateral meeting with the Moldovan president Bala Sandu and newly elected Romanian president Nicolae Dan there. Rubio congratulates Russian people on Russia Day. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio congratulated the Russian people on June the 12th, Russia's National Day, and expressed a desire for constructive engagement to bring peace to Ukraine. General Staff, Russia has lost over 1 million troops in Ukraine since the start of the war. This is the official numbers from the General Staff's armed forces. They put them out on a daily basis. So it's reached the 1 million threshold apparently now. Number includes 1,140 casualties that Russian forces suffered over the past day. It marks the first time since the outbreak of the full-scale war that Russia's reported casualties have crossed the 1 million mark. To be honest, guys, I think that number is, I think it was already going to hit the 1 million mark, but it's just not been, it's just not like the numbers haven't been actually counted. And I know some people, because I do get some people accusing this as Ukrainian propaganda. Well, this is the numbers that they put out on a daily basis, and sometimes I will report in, sometimes I don't. And I say to people, like, just it's your interpretation if you want to believe it or not, really. Partisan group destroys Russian military trucks in occupied Ukraine, allegedly killing soldiers. Asterisk claims. We've just got about 5 minutes left. I might look at one or two other headlines as well. UK could impose Russia oil price cap without US support, Callis has said. Russia boasts the world's top nuclear force and must improve ground forces, Putin claims. Putin claims that Moscow possesses the world's most advanced nuclear systems but must strengthen its ground force. Republicans press Pentagon chief over Trump's plans to end Russia's war with Ukraine. Politico reports the U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth yesterday stood by the administration's approach, portraying a U.S. brokered peace deal as a sign of strength and admitting that any agreement would inevitably leave plenty of people on both sides dissatisfied. Casualties mount after Russia's June the 7th strike in Kharkov, so there's still more. The casualties are rising from that situation there. The Patri ends tenure as ground forces chief as he leaves with clear conscience. Just seeing if there's anything else worth talking about there on there. It doesn't appear so, but there's some of the stories from the Kiev Independent there. They update that quite regularly, to be fair to them there. Got about just a couple of minutes left before 9 o'clock. Let's have a quick look at the Euro news. EU targets US Big Beautiful Bill over tax provision in tariff talks. US pulls some embassy staff from the Middle East. We know about that. Top defense CEO touts needed for 100 billion a year for 100 billion EU defensive fund. Disney and Universal sue AI firm Midjourney for copyright infringement. Trump says US has reached a trade deal with China, apparently. Courts ruled to keep Trump's tariffs active during appeal procedures. Commission strengthens imports monitoring and a fear of trade diversions. What we know about the gunman who killed 10 in the Australian school shooting. Few journalists, but more publishers in the EU. Is it because of artificial intelligence? That's a good question. Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk survives parliamentary confidence vote. Oh, so he passed the vote. Tusk, who previously served as Polish Prime Minister, hit the pandemic. He survived a vote of no confidence in the Sejm, the lower house of parliament, with 243 MP votes in favour, with 210 against. There are no abstains. Tusk requested a vote of confidence in the wake of the loss of Warsaw's Mayor Karol Trzaskowski, a close ally and conservative to Karol Nawrocki on the 1st of June's presidential runoff. So he won. So he did the vote of no confidence, but he passed it. He passed the vote of no confidence. Very interesting. New York jury convicts Harvey Weinstein's top charge in sex crimes retrial. Serbia's Baltic visits Ukraine for the first time in EU's realignment bid. Myanmar on the path of destruction if violence doesn't end, US envoy says there as well. So those are some of the stories from there. We'll just have one last place we'll have a look at before we wrap things up here, guys. This is from the New York Times. Let's have a look at the New York Times. Go away, please. US and China step back from EU trade war, but will their truce hold? How Washington has tried to control China's tech. Tariffs are a small share of government's revenue here. So they got a graph here. The House tax bill would lose money. Could Trump's tariffs replace it? No, I don't think so. Israel appears ready to attack Iran. Officials in US and Europe have said. Concerns about whether increased hostilities led to US to withdraw diplomats from Iraq and authorize the voluntary departure of US military family members. Netanyahu survives vote to dissolve Israel's parliament but emerges weakened. Some of Prime Minister Netanyahu's coalition partners backed an opposition motion over rules that exempt most religious students from military service. Interesting. Gaza aid group says Hamas attacks its Palestinian workers. Suggesting more troops in more cities. Trump bends military role. Where people are protesting against immigration raids. Judge opens door to releasing Muhammad Ali as soon as this week. Inside one family's deportation ordeal. And Kennedy names new members of the CDC vaccine panel. I wonder how many of them are Trump loyalists, guys. What do you think? What do you think? Well, we'll cover some of the stories we talked about this morning, tonight, possibly, and see what's been. We'll look at what's been happening in America. We won't just cover what's happening in Los Angeles and the riots. We will look at other things in America on tonight's show at 8 p.m. So do join me for that if you can, guys. It is youtube.com/the two Davies, Matt Parker, and that will be at 10:30 a.m. Dave McGuinness will do a paper review at 10:30 a.m. and then the two Davies, David Mulligan and Dave McGuinness, they will do they cover will be at 4 p.m. today. They do it on every Monday and Thursday there. So you'll get from Scotland's perspective on the spending review on that show later today at 4 o'clock if you can make it, if you can. But I am done here, guys. Do head out over, if you can, if you're interested, check out Graham Hughes' Politics Social on Morning Brew if you want to there. But I am done here for this morning. Thank you guys all for coming along. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the super chat. I'm losing my mind today. Thank you for the super chat, Matt Parker, and for being a member for 11 months as well. Thank you guys all for being here. Thank you guys for all your comments as well. Enjoy the rest of your day, whatever you guys are planning. Like I said, it's going to be warm here. So as high as 25 degrees, as I said on the weather. So do take care of yourself out there as always. Really, really important. But I will be back at 8 p.m. But just before you head out, hit that like button, share across social media, subscribe if you haven't already. And I hope to catch you all very, very soon.